In this segment of the wrap rejuvenation of this beautiful flat in Amsterdam, using cover style interior film and tips and tricks from the Wrap Institute, you're going to see how to transform a standard plain kitchen countertop to one with a gorgeous black gloss metallic finish that looks stylish and is easy to maintain. Let's wrap and roll. The first step is to remove any silicone on the edges, as this can compromise the hold of the interior film. Once all the silicone is removed, now it's time to remove any hardware. In this case, the stove and the sink. Next up is cleaning. Spray the surface with Saut Surface Cleaner 2. Let it set up for a couple minutes so it can get underneath the dirt and grease, and then using a plastic scraper, remove all the hard bits, then sop it up with a blue paper towel. Once the edges are done, then spray Saut Surface Cleaner 2 on the main surface area, then use the plastic scraper in even strokes from side to side, then remove any moisture, especially on the edges, with the blue paper towel. Masking tape all the edges to lower the surface energy. This will dramatically help with the wrapping process. Then it's time to apply a cover style primer to all the edges. Each canister has a built-in brush. Simply just remove any excess primer from the brush, then focus on all edges. The masking tape helps keep the primer from getting on edges that don't need to be primered. And be sure to be extra thorough during this process. Focus around any areas where the appliances were taken out, and make sure you get underneath the edges. The primer helps ensure long-term hold. Once all the primer's been applied, it takes 10 to 15 minutes to dry. So during this drying process, it's time to cut down the material. Note that this particular countertop has a natural break in between two panels, so therefore measure each one separately. Once all the measurements are taken, be sure to account for extra bleed, left to right, top to bottom, roughly around 6 centimeters. So, with the material laid out comfortably on a flat table so it doesn't get damaged, make marks on the liner and note that the grid is broken up into 10 centimeter squares. Using a straight edge now, cut the material safely away. Always try to do so as straight as possible. This helps with the install process. Then it's time to prep the backing paper. This is a special cutting tool from Saut that Cover Style sells. This goes in between the liner and the material. Cut the liner on two sections, roughly 4 centimeters wide. Then take a tack cloth and wipe down the countertop now that the install is ready to begin. This removes any specks of dirt that might have gotten on the countertop while the panels were being prepped. Once the surface is speck-free, now place the material onto the main surface area. Make sure it fits left to right, top to bottom. Hold the liner that was cut away with the backing paper tool. Hold the panel in place with one hand, then lock it onto the surface with a squeegee stroke. Once it's locked on, left to right, then release the liner roughly halfway, then squeegee in overlapping squeegee strokes towards that top edge. This top edge should match the countertop, so there's no need to cut it. For the other section of the panel, keep it off the surface at a 90-degree angle, release the liner roughly 20 centimeters, pick up the material, lay it flat, hold it in position with a free hand, then squeegee it onto the surface, in this case using a Pro Wing squeegee. Always make sure you use the buffer side on the face of the film. Because the wall is coming up, cut away the liner. This makes the panel easier to maneuver. Pick it back up, release the liner halfway, then continue the squeegeeing process. Now the material gets to the corner, which has several raised objects. To work around these safely, it's time to make a relief cut. Work the material into the corner and with a knife, cut it away. Once the material is cut away, it can then relax around this area without overstretching. Anytime there is a raised object, make a relief cut and then relax the film. Once the film is to the edge, then the excess film can be cut away. Always click the blade so it's extra sharp. Then make a relief cut on this bottom corner so it can be formed around safely. Pull one side up, then tuck in the other side. This side will reach the bottom, and then on this side, cut it flush to the corner. Once the material is cut flush, then the other side can be applied. This is a long section, so it's very important to heat the edge so it conforms really nice around the corner. Then once it's firmly on the corner, squeegee it onto the surface with the buffer side of the squeegee and work in sections from the top towards the bottom. Once it reaches the bottom, then it's very important to relax the section that is going around on the overlap and then cut the film roughly 3 millimeters on the other side of the corner. This means the overlap faces away from people who are in the kitchen and it has good long-term hold. Once this corner is done, then cut away the excess film at the bottom with a very sharp knife and cut it flush to the bottom of the countertop so there's no excess film to be wrapped around. Remove the excess film carefully, then cut away the film around the sink area and then trim it to the top edge. The blade should be perpendicular and flush to the top edge of the sink. Now, tuck the material into the outside corner, cut it away, and now we're ready for the second panel. Take a tack cloth again to remove any specks of dirt. Place the panel so it fits perfectly right in the corner. Lock it in. Then release the liner halfway and squeegee towards the top. The install process for this panel is essentially the same as the one you just saw. Keep the liner on, work in increments, and be sure to overlap the squeegee strokes so no air gets underneath the film. On this particular corner, heat the film so it relaxes, touch it, then make a relief cut. The same forming process and overlap process is the same. Now for this particular section, cutting flat on the surface is key, so leave about a half a centimeter underneath the edge, as the stove area will fit flat on top of this. Remove the excess film carefully away, and with everything cut out, the install is done. Simply wipe the surface down and remove any masking tape and reinstall all the appliances. Now you can see a dramatic transformation where it went from looking like a standard boring countertop to one that looks beautiful and gorgeous like this, that is easy to maintain and clean.